So, I am very honored to be allowed to host this series of discussions called Sharing Ideas, together with my colleague Anja Riedeberger, who will be hosting a session tomorrow. My name's Luise Tremel, and I don't work for the Goethe-Institut, but I work with the Goethe-Institut. We have an international project called Future Perfect, where we collect stories of transformative change from 30 countries so far. A lot of the people that will be speaking in these sessions are either projects that could be portrayed on Future Perfect or have been portrayed on Future Perfect. And what we share in our project and in what we hope to happen in the next 3 days is that we look at practitioners of sharing and practitioners of new models of social interaction that will take the world to what we believe might be a better place. I'm very excited, among a lot of big talk about sharing and exchange, to have this series of sessions with people that are on various grounds trying to establish workable models of different types of interaction, that will create a world that people can continue to live in. We will begin with a man who doesn't need technology. This is Ahmad from Syria, who works with collaboration and entrepreneurs, and he represents Arab Share. Everything else he will tell you himself. And please take a seat. I will stay with you. Cool. And Ahmad, you have 10 minutes.
Thank you. Well, rule number 1, never trust technology. So let's start. Who's here ever been in the Arab world before? Can you raise your hand, please? Who's been here in the Arab world before? Cool. Quite a few. We are a few, but quite a few who've been in the Arab world. I think it's when it's popped out in your image when I talk to Arab words, a lot of sad images from that regions, and this is true. The last couple of decades, the Arab world have been struggling socially and economically to find a rest. That caused a lot of unemployment rate, high unemployment rate comparing to the German standards, in addition to a lot of people that are living in poor. And since we're talking about sharing and sharing economy, what a lot of people, many wondering, does it make sense for the Arab world to have a sharing economy movement? How people would tend to share when they have only few? They don't have a bunch of things. Why would be able to share it? Different than the rest of the region and the Western countries, when people tend to share because of environmental motivators or maybe social motivators, or they wanted to save some money or to access to new money. People in the Arab world, they share because there is a need. There's a need for them to tap into new resources to create greater opportunities that started from bottoms and they grow from there. They share houses with their families where 10 people live together in a big house because no one of them, like one person, can afford a house. They share housewares with neighbors. They share food with neighbors. They swap stuff. They share taxis and motor generators with strangers because otherwise this won't be affordable. This is something they cannot do by themselves, so they tend to collaborate and share with other people to help them work at that. It's not for profit. It's not profitable. It's a surviving. It's a need economy. It's a share or die movement. In order to help working on this, in 4 years ago, I guess, we started with a movement with a sharing economy. In the Arab world, we call it Arab Share. We start with the smallest meetups to do more stuff. We did meetups in cities like Damascus, Beirut, even in a war zone. People wanted to share and they collaborate. Then we tend more to see, we figure out there is a problem where people, they don't know about the new sharing practices. We establish a blog when we talk about in Arabic with the language of the people about the sharing collaborative movement. They start to get to know more about that. We start to help local initiative with mentoring, with some consultations. For the startup, we create the first directory, and recently we did the first comprehensive study about the collaborative and sharing economy in the developing countries and the Arab worlds to understand more why do people share, how frequent they share. We covered 11 different countries, 15,000 people worldwide, and I'm going to tell you this, the majority of people, on average, 60% in the countries, they see in sharing as a way of surviving. They see sharing as a way of being, it's a human thing. They don't need a profit behind it. They just want to go ahead and sharing this movement. So Arab Share with the time is established to be non-profit organizations that work and to first educate people about the sharing and collaborative economy in the Arab world and grow the existing stuff about the Arab world. We see a lot of huge movements. So sharing and collaboration is not something new for the region. It's been with the traditions. We have an old model for crowdfunding that it was more than 1,500 years. We call it Jamaiya, which is basically if I have $10 and you have $10, we can, and you have like 10 of other people's, we can put the money together. So at the end of the week, I will have $1,000 to use it immediately in something I needed for my university tuition or to do to go to hospital or something urgent. And each week we repeat the same, and someone will tap into 1,000. This is the need they're trying to create. It's new, and they recently start to see more sharing initiatives. We have clones for very well-known sharing platforms like Airbnb. We have Goethe for Uber. We have Kareem, and we have some other stuffs. So this is basically the sharing economies. I prefer to have like this is like an open conversation about the deep thinking of culture of sharing. Why do we really share? Why do we really need sharing economy, especially in those kind of regions? And see if you guys have anything to add to talk about it with a couple of minutes that left for us.
I'm going to be a little bit unfair. You now had 6 minutes, and I'm going to take you to another one. And then the audience, anyone who has a question, you're very welcome to ask. We have someone with a microphone that will come to you. My question to you is, do the people in the Arab world see sharing as something that is positive and for the future, or do they see it as a sign of poverty that they have to do because they're in a need economy? And if it isn't seen as something positive, how do you think it could be, or what can you do to make them realize that this is a great cultural wealth that exists there?
Sure, it's not negative things. It's definitely positive. And as I mentioned, this is something traditional. This is something in our natural, in the Arab world, specifically also developing countries. So you see people tend to share a lot of stuff among their families and their friends, but they are hesitated to share it with the strangers. So to empower and take that sharing economy into the next level from not just being a need economy, but also take it into more developing things we're working on to build the trust between the strangers. And because of the economic situations and the regions that live under a war for the last couple of decades, it's become a little bit hesitated to trust other people, especially the strangers. But once you become part of the sharing circle, their trust circle, like friends, close friends and the family, they tend up to share with you everything that they have in order for them to survive. It's definitely not a negative, it's a positive, it's a natural. We don't say love and sharing, it should be something we do it for profit. If we didn't do it for profit, that is something negative. It's totally the opposite. This is the pure things of sharing and collaborating. This is the fundamental behaviors, I guess. Questions? Audience? If not, I'll continue to ask questions. Comments. Why just questions? You guys have a comment? Yes. One here. Two comments. Let's share.
Hey, so you say that in Arab culture, sharing is sort of baked in. So are there examples of unique sharing economy startups or something like that coming out of the Arab world now that we're not seeing out of the West?
Well, I just mentioned a few. The one that we call Jamaiya, it's like old model of the crowdfunding. Usually people also do more stuff. So if every neighborhood, there used to be a house, they call it Waqf, where people just can go there and sleep if they're just passing by this neighborhood. It's like an old model of Airbnb. It's taking like a new concept now in the business model. We also people like in the same neighborhood, they buy a land and they hire some people to grow there and work with there, and they share the food came out. They even sell it or sharing for themselves. This is land sharing. It's a old concept. There is nothing unique about this because of two reasons. First, they don't call it sharing. They don't call it collaboration. They call it life. Yeah, they do it because they do it. We don't have to label the stuff to do it. So maybe I do things in my life that you might consider as a sharing, and you wanted to do it under the startups and create a business model behind it. But we do it because out of doing it. And the second reason it is because still the entrepreneurship ecosystems is still like emerging. We don't have like bunch of startups that taken a place in the country. This is still emerging. We're seeing a lot of development of the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the last 4 or 5 years. You don't have unicorns. We just recently had a unicorn. So it depends on the entrepreneurial culture as well.
I think part of what you define as sharing is not completely unknown to the German society neither. Because if you live, let's say, in a traditional neighborhood, I mean, sharing is as well part of everyday life. So if you have a neighborhood, I mean, somebody celebrates his birthday and he has only 6 chairs, so all the neighbors will bring some chairs or some food or so. So that is, I mean, if people live together in a kind of community, and in this case, I define this as a traditional neighborhood as a community. They share their resources or they share their manpower. I remember in my childhood when one of the mothers at that time, that is many years ago, wouldn't work. So when one mother was sick, so the kids of that family would get food from one of the other mothers in the neighborhood. It didn't need to be organized. It was common sense because life has to continue.
Totally. Thank you for sharing this. That's great.
So we have 1 more minute with Ahmad. We have at least 4 speakers after him, maybe 5 if our last speaker turns up. Does anyone want to fill the last minute?
40 seconds?
If not, I'll make a comment on what the gentleman in the second row said. To me, the big challenge in the sharing question is to figure out how these traditional models can be transferred into our present-day life in a way that they're attractive to a lot of people, to continue as something that they think is modern, that they think is digital, that they think is interesting, rather than, oh, my grandmother did that, I don't need that. And to me, this is the biggest challenge, and I would like to hear what you have to say on that, but in maybe 30 seconds.
Well, it's taking this to the next level, scaling the sharing economy. So we can start with sharing houses, we can start with sharing buildings, sharing streets, to turn up to sharing cities. So it's expanding the circle and scale up. This will require a lot of work, require a lot of trust from these people, require talented entrepreneurs and crazy entrepreneurs to disrupt the traditions and take it to the next level. And we are start to see this happening with the time. Thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks for having me. And we'll continue these conversations.
Thank you for being here. So everyone, Nikolai, who's the organizer, reminded me that in case you want to share anything on the internet, please use the hashtag KSWE2016. So I shared this. Now I want to introduce Tine, our next speaker. Please have a seat here. I have a remote control for you. Tine is from Belgium. She's a journalist, and she has written a book. She might tell us about the book. It is called Het Klein Verzet, which is the Little Revolution, and everything else she will tell us herself.
Good evening. So I wrote a book. You can translate it as small-scale revolutions. What I did, I made a tour through Europe, and I went looking for people who were trying to change their lives and trying to change the way we do things normally. So who are reinventing normality, in fact. And what I saw were places of change, acts of change, all kinds of stuff. I went, for example, to transition town Totnes. It's a typical example. I went to Barcelona to look for social spaces, to look for co-creation labs, to see a lot of complementary currencies, all kinds of stuff. I went to Greece, where they call it a social solidarity economy, and where, for example, employees took over their factory and reshaped it as a corporation. So that's the trip I made, and then I got back home. And I had to write my book. And while I was writing, I was looking or staring a lot through my window. That's what you do when you write. You're staring a lot through your window, hoping to find and to see some ideas. But what I saw on my street were most of the time cars, just cars like this, just cars who were standing there, cars who were parked there. So my street is just kind of a parking lot. It's public space, but we use it as a parking lot. And in fact, if you look at this, it's Belgium. You know, Belgium, small country, but we have an amazing amount of roads. I'm not a number cruncher, but I'm going to give you some numbers. So in 1950, we had 29 kilometers of highway. It was revolutionary. Well, nowadays, we have almost 2,000 kilometers of highways. And you have to know that the most far you can go in Belgium from the coastline to the very east, it's 300 kilometers. So we have 2,000 kilometers of highways. And so if you look at it, our road surface is 5.5% of our entire surface. It seems like a small number, but really it's enormous. So we are kind of a road. Our country is a road, parked with cars like this. Oh, sorry. So, what did we do? It started in our street, was just the simple thought, like a lot of people have made. Okay, if you take one car, one shared car, replaces 10 cars in your street. And so you see how many space cars take. It's the same amount, people biking, people on a bus, and people in cars. So if you take one shared car, it's 10 cars you can replace. And especially a car is really, it's unemployed for 95% of the time. So if people are unemployed for 95% of the time, we call them a real huge problem. But cars, it's normal, especially. So the idea was, let's start sharing cars. A very simple idea in my neighborhood. And I hope I take it. Oh, sorry, really sorry. One car is really a bunch of bikes. Here you see the image. This is my neighborhood. 20 houses, 37 cars, 74 people, 20 cats. It doesn't matter. I just put it there. And the nice thing is, we started to share peer-to-peer, on a particular base. The interesting thing was we didn't need any commercial sharing platform because our government, sometimes they do good things, they gave some money to a non-governmental organization to make a kind of a tool. It's called Autopia. It's a very simple tool where you can just start sharing your cars in a neighborhood between neighbors, people who do or don't know each other. And it makes that it's not just a sharing economy, but it's a kind of a commons-based economy. Because the way we started to share cars was really in a discussion. We debated on how are we going to do it. What about the insurance? All those things, it was a communal thing that we discussed. And for me, that's really important about sharing economy, that it's commons-based. It's not just a commercial platform that you use. It comes out of the people who try to create something new. And from the cars, we went further because we got more space in our streets. Some people sold their car because they had one that they could use. So this is our little group. We started with 2 cars, and then now we have 5 community cars for 50 persons. And nobody wins, nobody loses. All costs are shared. And the nice thing is, from the cars, there came other plans. And the most amazing plan we have right now, it's something that I took from Great Britain. You have there the idea of edible cities. Maybe people heard about it. That you just make your public space a space to meet, a space to share, a space to eat. That you make everything that grows there is edible. So we are starting now to make our street green and to make it edible so that we can eat from the street and share our food, what we grow on our own streets. Oh, I'm very sorry about that. But we're not yet there yet. I'm sorry. Another thing we want to do is what you see there are little gift boxes. Simple ideas, you see it everywhere. But you just put a share and you have a little place in your street. And then the big dream we have from our car sharing idea is the library of things. We have one in Brussels where you can just lend tools. But in our idea, you have a public library. We still have public libraries everywhere. And we want to make from that public library really the library of everything, where you can share cars, where you can share your clothes, where you can share like everything. That's the big dream we have. But what is important for me about this story is that it's sharing stuff is really, it starts with sharing space, with a shared public space, and that we, as a people, have to reclaim that public space. And from there on, I'm really bad, I'm sorry, just reclaim the economy. Thank you.
Now you have 2 minutes with your audience, and audience, you have 2 minutes with Tine. What do you want to know or say?
You have 74 people living in your street and 20 lawnmowers. That would be another idea, maybe.
That's another one where we're thinking about. But the funny thing is, because it starts all with conversation, and then you see what ownership does with people and how important it is still to have that thing and to have that car. Especially a car is kind of, it's part of our identity. You see it. And those were the interesting moments. It was all the discussions we had, because it takes quite a lot of time to set things up like that. And the discussions are really interesting, but it shows like how we are connected with our stuff.
Hi, I'm Erlin from Surabaya, Indonesia. I'm also part of a library, and then I also have initiatives in wild plants as well, introducing wild plants. So I'm curious about your library of things and then how you work on the community. Do you have connections with the government, or do you set up the commons by yourself, like on your own? And then, so for example, for that library of things, is it going to be organized by the people itself or with the help by the government? And then for the food, you said eating from the streets. Do you literally grow food by the streets? And then how is it about the pollutions, or do you actually put it at the gardens, etc.? Yeah. I would be curious to know. Thanks.
Okay. For the relation with the government, the library of things, it's just an idea. We don't have it yet. But if we are trying to do it, and we're really negotiating with the local government, because we want them to have them into the project. There is a library of things or tools in Brussels, and that's really a commons project. So it came out of the people, but they got some funding from the government as well. So there is a relationship. And growing food on the street. Yeah, we do it, or we want to do it on the, how do you call it? On the, vensterbanken? I don't know. Yeah, and on high,
Okay, raised beds.
Yeah, raised beds. And the idea is that we can use it, if you wash it well enough, it's quite okay, because it's not a highway, you know. It's a city road, and the pollution you have there you also have in your garden. It's not that. But we have an interesting project as well. It's in Antwerp. I'm gonna, one moment. And it's, they're trying to see how much the air is polluted by strawberries. Strawberries are grow in front of the windows, and then they're just checking on what's on the leaves to see how polluted it is. Yeah.
Thank you, Tine. What I want to take from this session is the library of things as an opposite to the Internet of Things that everybody's talking about. To me, this opens a lot of mental pathways. And if you want to speak about the edible cities afterwards, I know I can say a few things about the movement in Germany. It's pretty big. Thank you. Next, I would like to welcome Tianle Chang from China. She's a journalist by training, and she is the initiator and head of the Beijing Farmers Market. You have a presentation as well, right? We have this remote control. You have the video. If you want me to, I can open it the moment you want it. It's on the Internet Explorer on there. Yes. All the way there. Yeah. That.
我老家是河南三门峡灵宝，我从小就在这样的生活环境下长大，然后就非常喜欢这种大自然吧，头上可以看到天，然后可以在土地上玩耍。从我长大，从那个村子里边长大，我觉得村子的环境啊什么都发生了很大的变化嘛。我也想在农村里边生活，但是又不知道能做些什么，就想来农场那个。了解学习，会让你重新想去关心你身边的，关心这些食物，然后了解这些食物。在这里又建立一种新的连接，一种联系吧。
我是山东人，出生在山东济南。我们家是很多年前是种地，但是陆续的这个地也不再种了，所以这种小时候的记忆是被唤起了。看到一块一块地上那个市民啊，他们产出了那么多菜拉回家，我觉得非常喜悦。植物会告诉我们非常非常多的东西它会努力的去适应。我们人类也是一样的，这都是有生命有灵性的东西。
在北京这样一个大城市组织农夫市集，最有趣的一点就是因为北京它集合了全国各地甚至全世界各地的人，所以大家虽然我们这些产品大部分是在北京本地生产的，但是很多来自外地的人甚至国外的人会把自己家乡的饮食文化带到北京来，然后和大家分享。在这里不光是分享食物，大家也在分享很多的价值，比方说我们应该怎么吃得更健康，我们吃怎么样能够减少对环境的危害，或者我们是不是通过吃这个行为能够关注到农村的发展。所以这些想法、这些想法、概念、理念都会在这里得到交流和传播。在农夫市集上，很多的农友并不是传统意义上的农民，他们也来自不同的背景，因为出于对环境保护或者对于农村发展的关切参与到有机农业当中来。这个也是另外一种意义上的城乡的互动。城市和乡村之间不再是乡村单方面的给城市提供食品，其实城市里面的一些有趣的东西或者人、资金、财富、知识、文化也能够通过这种形式到了乡村。那我觉得城乡之间有更好的互动，对于北京这样一个大城市也是非常重要的。
I think it's in the blue folder. Yeah, that one? No? No? Then I don't know. Marie, weißt du, wo das ist? Kann es sein, dass das PDF ist? Vielleicht das offene PDF, was unten in der Mitte? Ja. No, it's fine. Yeah. No, it's fine. Yeah.
I have 7 minutes or less. Yeah, I'm glad that we have the opportunity to see the video so you get an idea what we do in Beijing, a farmers market, trying to link in producers and the consumers. A little bit background that China is the world's biggest consumer of food and probably producer of food, but we face lots of challenges. Environmental sustainability from industrial agriculture, rural development issues, the farmers get poorly paid from what they do. Food security is an issue that now we are importing more and more food, especially grains, in order to feed our pigs. And food safety, we hear lots of scandals. And this is the picture on the left is a picture we took from a supermarket that you see lots of German milk because Chinese people don't trust the milk made in China. So we buy lots of milk from Europe and Australia and New Zealand. And is that a sustainable way of food consumption, trading? That's a question. And whatever we eat back in China now has a global impact. For example, lots of GMO soybeans are growing Brazil, Argentina for the Chinese market. So we as a consumer in China has a responsibility. But not many Chinese people are aware of that the eating habits, the daily consumption has created lots of problems, not only at home, but also at global level. So we are craving for a new way of eating or a more sustainable way of food. So that in my mind we want to achieve is a food system needs to be environmentally sustainable, that we no longer pollute the environment by using too much chemicals. It should be socially just, that everybody gets fair paid, and it should be economically viable, that farmers or other organizations who are involved in food production should have a financial viability in it, and it should be culturally appropriate and climate resilient. So in short, but how do we achieve that? That's a very ambitious goal. So at the Beijing Farmers Market, the idea is very simple. We want to create a food community, a local food community that is based on sharing exchange. So there are many ways to achieve that, and our approach is a farmers market so that the consumers and producers can meet each other. So we started in 2010, and now we've done 1 to 3 markets a week. And the revenue is quite good. We have helped these farmers to achieve 8 million euros in 5 years. And remember, these are very small organic producers. So it's a mobile market. It's different like here. You have a market in the square every Saturday. We travel from place to place, but Beijing is a massive city. By this way, we can outreach as many audience consumers as we can. And these tomatoes represent where we had a market 3 years ago, actually. So it's also a reclaim of the public space, as our earlier speaker talked about. Because the urbanization of China is so fast, we take up so much rural land to build cities. But now we invite these farmers back to the city to show people where food is from. You need the land, you need the soil to grow food for you. So I think it's also a reclaim of public space, and we actually create public space. And remember, it's in China that the ideas of commons or public space is quite restricted. So by doing a market that we actually do create a public space and lots of media attention, of course. So now in Beijing, we work with 30 organic local producers. This is where they are. The apples actually represent these ring roads of Beijing. Have you ever been to Beijing? Beijing is surrounded by these ring roads. So these apples actually are those fifth ring road. So we also work with some artisanal food producers. And it's an organic farmers market, actually, but these farmers are not certified organic. How do we make sure that they follow organic principles? We use a thing called participatory guarantee system, where instead of a third-party certifier come to your farm once a year to say, okay, you're organic. We have all the stakeholders, producers, consumers, experts, NGOs, media, sometimes even government officials, to join. collectively set up the standards of farmers market, and we go to the farm all together to see if the farmer understands these principles and follow it. And also in this process, farmers learn from each other, and consumers also learn how food is produced. And in this process, trust is built, and we consider trust at the farmers market as a common. So this is some pictures of when we do farm visits. And now we also expanded. We're not only working in Beijing, we also try to work with producers around the country. So this is a map of last year. We made a mooncake, which is a festival food in China, in the Autumn Festival. So we sourced all the products from organic producers around China to make a mooncake. And we sold, I don't know, hundreds of boxes of those mooncakes. It's not only a market, we provide other services to consumers and producers. One of them is organic agriculture training, so that they can improve their farming skills. And we also do lots of education, advocacy through communication activities. We have a very active online presence. We have more than 120,000 followers on the Chinese version of Twitter. And we do lots of offline events, like the talks, farm visits, kitchens, and invite people from around the world to share their experience. And 2 years ago, we started a community center. So in addition to a guerrilla farmers market, we have a base in the center of the city. We make it a public space for everybody. So in the front, it's a grocery store where you can buy fresh vegetables every day. And in the back, during the day, it's our office, and in the evening, we turn it into a public space where farmers can come and give a talk. Sometimes they even come and cook for us. And in China now, there's a national network of farmers market all over China, more than 10 now.
Tianle, yeah. I'm going to have to cut you off if you want some time with your audience.
1 more minute, last slide. So what does it have to do with sharing exchange? We believe at the farmers market, we make it happen, the face-to-face fair trade. It's not fair trade label you see in the supermarket. We share the space all together. And sometimes people volunteer to work at the farm or farmers markets, time sharing, and lots of knowledge and skills exchanged here, and trust building. And we also organize book clubs, film screenings, and because it's a real market, it's a space that lots of new ideas, initiatives can also be realized in this space. And we also participate in lots of international exchange. And 2 years ago, I was in Berlin to participate via Haben-Essart conference, which is a national movement against industrial agriculture here in Germany. So, yes, sorry about that.
Thank you very much. Does someone want to say something to Tianle or ask?
My name is Mert. Just one quick question. Are the prices of the products similar to the ones in the local markets, or like they have small differences?
It's very expensive compared to conventional goods you buy from supermarkets or conventional markets. But the reason is the conventional goods are too cheap.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's the reason.
Okay.
Am I not a person? Hi, I'm Diana. I just had a question. In China, there are a lot of these type of markets where they sell stuff from the rural areas. So what is the difference between, I guess, maybe a more formalized market versus what they already have existing?
Well, first of all, those fresh markets are disappearing in cities. So maybe in some rural areas, you still have the gathering. But less and less, it's a producer's market. Usually it's a trader's market. You don't necessarily see the producers there. And the other difference, the feature of our market is organic. That we know how they produce, that they don't use any chemicals.
Unfortunately, because we have other people coming up, I have to stop the discussion short here, but we are going to I hope that all of the speakers will remain afterwards for you to ask questions and talk. I was very excited about this, reminded that sharing space is one of the most important preconditions for sharing anything. Thank you very much for this impressive presentation. And next, I want to turn to Gustaff, who came here all the way from Indonesia. He's an artist, and he has created a space for artists and something called Common Room that I don't know exactly what it is. He said he won't really talk about it, but maybe he will talk about it a little bit. Welcome, Gustaff.
Thank you. That is the full screen. This one? Okay. Yeah, my name is Gustav. I'm working as an artist, and Common Room is like an open platform for art, culture, and ICT media. And what I'm going to share you tonight is actually field notes from our previous, our recent projects that we do in the past couple of years. And yeah, this is our experience from Cipta Gelar. Doesn't work? No?
This one?
Yeah.
The presenter only works with PowerPoint, not with PDF.
Okay. So yeah, Kasepuan Cipta Gelar village is located in the deep forest of National Reserve in West Java, and Kasepuhan generally means the elders, and based on the existing records is already from around 6th century, but from some documents we study that their tradition is already longer than that. And yeah, this is Java Island, and the location is in the southern part of West Java. And yeah, sharing culture is strongly embedded in their tradition because they have these deep connections to farming, ancestral farming traditions. And what is interesting is that knowledge and natural resources shared, the seed is shared. The land is owned collectively. There are no exclusive ownership over lands. And farming culture is believed as part of their spiritual belief. So it is prohibited to sell the rice in terms of traditions. And it's also part of their collective memory and identity. And what is also interesting is that in each step of farming, there always involve art and cultural expressions, music, poems, and so on and so on. And the other particular things from this community is that the connections with certain star clusters and farming traditions. So, for example, the way they memorize things is also through poems. Like, for example, tanggal kerti turun wesi, tanggal kidang turun kujang, surup kidang turun kungkang. So it's like a poem for them. And the meaning is that the connections between certain star clusters, farming tradition, and also certain insects, reproduction cycles. So in the past couple of years, we also started to work with some researchers, astronomers, experts in different fields. And Mr. Suharja is the astronomer from astronomy department in Institut Teknologi of Bandung, where he focused on the research on this Pranata Mangsa. And Pranata Mangsa generally translated as the order of time. Pranata means time. And Pranata means the order, and Mangsa is time. So farming community in Cipta Gelar is actually has a very strong connections to the ancient farming culture in Asia, where they already started to learn astronomy in very old periods of time. And yeah, one thing that is also quite important is that they have this very restricted tradition on the land and forest protections, because the forest and farming is strongly connected. So they categorize land and forest into a very specific area: sacred forest, protected forest, and production forest. And also they recognize land between based on the characteristics like the water, stones, and soils. And yeah, there is this interesting book written by Kusnaka Adimiharja, where he's saying that people in Ciptagelar have a very interesting understanding on that they inherit this line of ancestral Pancer Pangawinan is the master of marriage, that they are the one who can master the marriage between the sky and the earth, the knowledge from the heaven and the knowledge in the earth. So what is the understanding is that they part of this different cosmic awareness. Bumi means earth, langit is the heaven, sawarga is the heaven, and naraka is the underworld. And they categorize the world into three different levels: up, middle, and underworld. And what is specific about the people is that they have this awareness that they have the duty to nurture and protect the whole living creature. So that's why if you come to the village, if you want to buy the rice, is almost impossible. But if you ask, they will give you for free. And yeah, this is the situation where they do everything together. And yeah, based on the interview that I translated, that the knowledge is important, and at this moment, what is the main interest of the people in Kasapuan Ciptagelar is to share the knowledge and the awareness to as much of people. So that's why maybe they choose us to work with them. So hopefully we can share and distribute the ideas on the culture of people in Ciptagelar, and maybe we can learn something from them as well. So thank you.
Does anyone have any questions right away? No? I do. I'm very happy to hear this presentation of ancient traditions of sharing. It seems that have survived into the modern era. For you as an artist, what motivates you to look at this, and do you think it can survive into the future?
Well, my interest and visit to the village is actually is like a coincidental, because in 2013 we got commissioned to do a research in West Java province by the West Java governments, and we are quite surprised because the culture are somehow still intact, and through some document and archive that we are studying, back then in the 60s, actually they have a quite a challenging situation where the New Order regime government in Indonesia is actually try to vanish the culture. And what they do is that they do this guerrilla farming. Say they go deep into the forest in order to protect their tradition. And what is worrying for us is actually the development, like Indonesia is maybe one of the fastest development countries at the moment. And because the location of the village is in the West Java, where the most highest density of population and also development. So this is our main interest, actually, why we have interest to work with them, because of this complexity and challenge. And we feel that we need to encourage them to protect and preserve the culture, and also to distribute the knowledge, and because we feel that it is important to see food production is not only in economic term, because I think we think access to food is actually basic human rights. And I think all humans actually have the rights to produce their own food as well. So this is one of the examples that we feel that we need to learn and to understand more about what is the relationship between natural conservation, food productions, and et cetera. And then the recent thing that we are trying to do is that to improve the local ICT infrastructure in order to help them to communicate better, not only in between the people, but also with the outside world, in order to get, not only to get support, but also to expand the knowledge, because now slowly other farmer in other area is started to adopt the ideas, of course with their own version and in different contexts. But like for example, together with some local farmer in different area in Sukabumi, we are trying to adopt the traditional concept of farming in Ciptagelar and then try to adapt it into a different level. Yeah.
Does anyone have a question? Yes.
Can you please tell us a little bit more about the seeds? What variety do they grow? How do they preserve, maybe exchange seeds?
Yeah, well, they grow their own rice seed. At the moment, they have at least around 300 local seeds for a specific location. And one thing about the farming culture that I learned from them is that each seed has its own locations. It depends on the heights and the weather and everything. So each location, each village has its own rice seeds. And yeah, the village itself, like the Kasepuan Ciptagelar village, is the mother village from around more than 500 small villages, and between around 30,000 farmers in the area. So the seed is, of course, the local grow seeds. And in the 60s, like I told you before, that Indonesian government tried to introduce this modern technique of farming with the term of green revolutions, where they started to introduce the use of GMO rice. But that is why they refuse the government and choose to do guerrilla farming in order to protect the rice seed as well.
So we have very little time for a question from Tine and then a quick answer.
I have a small question. Do young people want to live there or do they go away?
Well, yeah, in this village, the chief leader of the village is born in 85, so he's very young. And yeah, the senior citizen is also a lot. But in the past couple of years, the birth rate in the village is also quite high. In this village alone, there are around 100 new babies are born. And through some interview with the elders, they say that they are actually preparing to have a new generation for the new era. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Next in this something like a hackathon almost, we have Lisa. She's from Switzerland. She's a product designer and is going to present to us about two projects that she's worked on. One is Pumpipumpe and the other one I don't even know the name of, but it's about materials. Co-factory? Hast du PowerPoint oder Acrobat?
So hello, I'm very happy to be here tonight. It's such an interesting evening, and I will present you Pumpipumpe, a sharing community. It's a project I founded with some friends about 4 years ago, and it's a sharing community. We're actually not seeing ourselves as so much part of the sharing economy. You will later see why this is. And I would like to start with a quote from Nitzan Weisberg, which really inspired me. She held a speech at a conference in San Francisco, and what she said is, she's a designer from Israel, and she said, it's not about sustainable products, it's about sustainable interactions. And that's quite caught me as a product designer, being occupied with developing products. So this is was also a starting point of the project we did. We have so many things. Tine said it before. It's absurd. 74 people in the street, 20 lawnmowers. It's crazy. Why do we have to have all these things? This is a map assumption of Zurich, like how many pasta machines I could just get in my neighborhood. I mean, and we were really thinking, how can we create a visibility for these objects and link these objects and the people, the owners of these objects. And there was also sharing platforms in the internet at that time, but we were really thinking, how can we create like an own medium, like a presence in the neighborhood for these objects and transactions, and connect neighbors in the space they move. And that's how we came to look closer at letterboxes, because letterboxes are quite useful, but we thought maybe they can do some more. They are like a private but public interface. And so we were developing a system to communicate via these letterboxes. And that's the website we have now, where you can actually order stickers of objects you rarely use, I suppose. And you would be happy if neighbors come and just ask to borrow these items. And it's a quite simple project. You can order these stickers and apply them to your mailbox, and wait for people to come use your things. And as you can maybe see in the letterbox in the middle, there is a dog, a picture of a dog, which was applied with the stickers. And that's really the idea of the project. Is really it shouldn't be like a consumer-ready product, but it's a tool. And what we really want is to activate people to think about why they do certain things and why they do it the way they do it, and also to develop the project further on their own needs. We receive a lot of questions like, what do I actually do when someone comes up to my door, and do I trust this person? And that's exactly the questions we want, like people to think, how am I handling my goods, my neighbors, my role in this society, in this neighborhood. And that's exactly the discussions we want to start. We have a bit more than 17,000 households participating until now. The city with most participants is Berlin. Here you see a little overview over Berlin. And it's another trend that more and more people are living in cities, more and more people are living close together, density is increasing, and so why not find ways to actively profit from this closeness to other people instead of just being bothered by noise or cars. Do I have 5 more minutes? Wow. So then I will talk to you quickly about a project I did. It's a research project I did for Freitag, the bag company with the recycled tarp bags. they told me to go walk through Zurich and find interesting things that happen while keeping their thinking in cycles in mind. And what I was doing, I was going to building sites because there is a lot of waste materials being produced on building sites. It's actually in Switzerland, it's the biggest waste volume that is being produced is on building sites. And there's a lot of different waste products. One is concrete, and it's a big part of our urban architecture, so it's also a big waste material. And it's a difficult material to recycle because you can only add like 35% of old concrete to new concrete in order to not have a bad quality product. And if you're on a building site, after each concreting step, there is like 1 to 3% of leftovers. It's a planned leftover because if you wouldn't finish the wall or the ceiling, it's really bad for your constructions. So you have to calculate this minimal leftover. And what happens today, it's like being placed somewhere on the building site, and a worker will come and bend armoring iron into it. And when it's dried out the next day, it can be easily just be transported away to the trash container, and it's really too bad. And so the idea of the concept that I developed is to have like a really minimal intervention, like a sort of mobile co-factory who is installed on building sites where concrete is produced. And just to show you, the volume 1 to 3% sounds really small, but I was in a building site which was working with 20,000 cubic meters of concrete. So if you only calculate with 1%, it's 200 cubic meters. And for a one-family house, you need 35 cubic meters. So it's quite a volume. And that's what I did then. I went on building sites and was waiting for concrete, and was just starting to experiment and develop different products that could be produced with this leftover concrete. And I had a lot of people helping me because they thought, oh, that's fun, that's something different than building walls and ceilings all the time. And yeah, it's prototypes I did for bike stands, for balls, but it could be really also products for the local population, or benches that come in front of the building. It's really a starting point. So at the moment, it's a prototype, an idea for another invention for sharing production processes in this time, and we are really looking forward to find a company that is open to share their production site for local production of concrete products. Yeah. Thank you.
So we can sit down for a 2-minute discussion. Yes, in the middle, the gentleman.
Thank you for your presentation. My name is Anton. I would like to ask about the first project. Do you keep track of what is the most shareable item among the neighbors?
We, as you know, it's like a complete analog process, the sharing transactions. So we don't keep track of that. We know what people order, and it really depends on the country. It's in Switzerland, it's the mixer. In Austria, it's the pasta machine. So, and I don't even know it for Germany right now. But it really depends on regions, and it's also quite funny to analyze that. Yeah.
And the second question, probably the follow-up. Like you said, it's very analog transactions you're exploring, and I understand because probably the goal is more societal to raise awareness and activate the people, as you said. However, do you see have you encountered the need of technology to foster this this object to be shared among neighbors?
What we did, we created a map, an anonymous map, where you can, if you want, place your objects and your address. So you can see some of the pictures are actually from the map. You can see where what item is. It's not all of the users that do that, but it gives you quite an overview, because we realized that sometimes a letterbox might be so close to you with exactly what you want, but it's not the road you take to go to work. So that's what we use this technology to enhance the search actually for the objects. But we don't want to take the contact, the encounter away from the door. So it's anonymous, and you have to go ring the doorbell to find the object.
Thank you.
The young man next to you also raised his hand.
I'm fine. He just asked the same question I wanted to ask.
So, again, Tine, for a quick question, unless there's someone who hasn't spoken yet, who wants to say something. No? Okay.
I just want to add a little thing about the platform. I don't know if you know Peerby, because that does the same, but as a platform. So it's a community platform for stuff. Peerby.
The gentleman behind you.
I'm super interested. You mentioned those questions you get about, okay, so what if a random person knocks on my door and wants my mower or whatever? I'm just interested and curious, like, what is the answer, and what is the answer you would give those people, you know, like, and what are the bad experiences you have? Like, does it actually, when you say you have 17,000 users, that's like a huge amount of people, you know, and there's probably somebody stealing the mower or something, you know? I just wondered whether that actually happens.
Yeah, luckily, we haven't heard of any bad experiences so far, so I'm glad. But what we usually we like start kind of a small discussions with the people. Like, it's completely okay to have feelings. Okay, this person, I saw this guy. He really lives right there, so that's kind of an endurance across the street. Or I really don't know this person. It's okay to say, like, I don't trust you. I will not just give you something, and I would like to leave you something. That I would like you to leave me something, like a, how do you say, depot,
deposit,
a deposit or something. We like show them possibilities to easy strategies to be more secure if they have bad feelings. And the worst case is like, oh, I just borrowed it to someone else. It's really about finding ways to interact with your neighbors, and trust is a big issue, and it's important to deal with that and to find your personal feelings important and communicate them. Yeah.
Thank you. Is Ben Vickers here? No. Okay. Then thank you very much, Lisa. You were the last person presenting tonight. One other person didn't show up. I was very, very happy with everything I heard tonight. Personally, I was extremely enriched to hear about these very diverse and yet, to my mind, pretty similar approaches to what humans might need if they decide to go into interaction with each other. I very much want to invite you to continue this conversation here and now, but also we have 4 more sessions coming up with other people that do similarly interesting things from all over the world, 2 tomorrow and 2 on Friday. They are in the program, so if you liked this, please come back. If you didn't like it, please come back as well to see what might happen tomorrow or on Friday. I cannot imagine how anyone might not have liked this, because to me there was just so much rich material, and I thank the 5 of you for having presented your activities and your personal pathways of exploring this topic. I have been told that the bar will be opened at 2300, so enjoy and thank you.